Hi folks, welcome to the channel. I'm Steve and welcome to my bar, the Rambling Inn. Not a good name. Now, in my videos I try to give you a quick but good understanding of the places that I visit, the things that I do. I try to give you a feel for the people, the culture, the layout and the vibe of the places that I visit, along with tips and advice on as many topics as possible. And most importantly, how to travel safely and enjoyably on a budget. And this time it should be easy. I'm at home. Now, in this video I'm going to talk about Ireland, about its people, its wealth, a little about its history, and I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, is it an expensive place to visit? But I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. Any statistics I give you have been thoroughly researched from reliable sources and are as accurate as they can possibly be to my knowledge. End of disclaimer. So, there's 4 questions I'm going to give you my opinion. Oh, my finger. Just weird, very long. Sorry, where was it? Yes, there's 4 questions I'm going to give you an opinion on. The first 3 I'm going to run through fairly quickly, with the 4th question, in my opinion, being the most interesting and the most relevant to this video. So the first... Are we joking? Hello? Hello?
Sorry, sorting out the glasses.
Right, I know. Oh, okay, but you know, told you I was filming. You know I'm filming. All right.
I do. Really sorry.
Quiet.
Yep.
Good man. Thank you. Staff. So where was I again? Yes, the first question, and really interesting question. Is Ireland really the second richest country in the whole world per capita? And the simple answer is, believe it or not, yes, it is. No way. I can't believe I'm saying that. Because when I was growing up, my family used to go to Donegal a lot. It was wonderful. It was friendly. It added a lot of richness to my childhood, to my growing up. But one thing it was not was rich. The people were happy. They seemed very content with life, but not too many of them seemed to be rich. Strange how time changes everything. First statistic, in terms of GDP per capita, Ireland is the second richest country in the world, according to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. And what that means is that the average Irish person is much wealthier than the average person in most other countries, with a few exceptions. For example, Monaco, Andorra, among others. These countries have loads of money and wealthy people, but most of their wealth comes from external sources like tourism, banking, and the like, so they can't be counted in the same way. Now, Ireland's wealth is due to a number of factors, including its early membership of the European Union. I remember going back many years when we were going to Donegal and I was a kid. Everywhere you went, there were these big blue signs, EU signs with the EU starred circle, saying that this, that and the other was being built, mainly roads, and it was all being funded by the EU. So that sort of, I think, got the ball rolling. But also, Ireland has a low corporate tax rate, has a highly educated workforce now, and it's in perfect proximity to very large markets. And what I mean by that is, to Ireland's left, its neighbour is the USA. To the right, its neighbour is the United Kingdom, and if you go next to that is Europe. So it's perfectly situated to take advantage of those massive markets. And for that reason, and as if that wasn't enough, it's also home to some of the biggest tech companies in the world, such as Google, Apple, Facebook. Now, it is important to note that like most countries around the world, Ireland's wealth is not distributed evenly. There's a significant gap between the rich and the poor. That's, as you know, a whole other subject. And the cost of living's high, which makes life for people on lower incomes and benefits very difficult. Although in countries like Ireland, those people are still much better off than 80% of the rest of the world who live in poverty. Next, is Ireland an expensive place to live? And again, yes, it's an expensive place to live, but not as an expensive place to visit as you may think. Some people that live in Ireland will disagree with what I'm about to say, but living stuff like groceries, electricity, fuel, and clothes, amongst other things, is still lower than many other countries, which is one of the reasons why the standard of living is so good. According to the OECD Better Living Index, Ireland outperforms the world average in jobs, education, health, social conditions, safety, and life satisfaction. Do you know Ireland's average household net income per capita, and I'm going to say this in dollars, I'm going to compare, is $29,500 a year, while in the US it's only slightly higher at $30,500 a year. If you go back 25 years ago, it was nothing like that. You know, Americans were very high standard of living, paid very well, which they still do, and Ireland wasn't, and now it is. Now the things that are very high in price here, top number one examples, housing, whether renting or purchasing, especially in Dublin, especially in the cities. Rent prices are crazy. House prices to buy and apartment prices to buy are through the roof. There's a shortage of housing, and if you want to purchase and get on the property ladder for the first time, it's particularly difficult to get going, to get started. And yet, despite the high cost of living, Ireland is a very popular place from people all around Europe, especially, to work and live. The country has a strong economy, low unemployment rate, and lots of opportunities. Right, so quickly moving on. Next, is Ireland a good place to live? And this answer is just my opinion, but again, yes. In fact, it's a wonderful place to live, apart from a few things. So, I'm going to answer this question in the form of pros and cons, and I'm going to start off with the pros. First pro, Ireland has just amazingly beautiful scenery everywhere you go. In fact, some of the most beautiful scenery inland and coastal in the world, in my opinion. Secondly, Ireland has a mild climate. Now, that might seem like a strange thing to say because we're always moaning about our rubbish weather, our wet weather, but it's still mild. It doesn't suffer from extremes, extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme tornadoes or extreme storms. So very mild, which is why we have very good farming in Ireland. 3, the Irish people are known for and are very friendly and very welcoming. Like, unlike at my experience in a lot of places through Europe, when you walk up the street, everybody gives you a wee smile, you know, you nod and how you doing. But very, very friendly country, very, very friendly people. Welcoming people, helpful people. When they're not killing each other, that is. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's really easy to make friends here. There's a very strong sense of community. 4, Ireland has a very, very, very strong and long cultural history, dating back thousands of years. There's many, many historical sites and attractions, both man-made and natural, to visit, as well as a thriving arts and culture scene. Some things you may not know. The Irish invented colour photography, the hypodermic syringe, the doctor's stethoscope, the ejector seat, which is very strange, as I do not associate Ireland with fancy army jets. We invented submarines, the bacon rasher, although I'd have to say you think the pig invented that. We just learnt how to cut it in a certain way. I think that's right. We invented the cream cracker, flavoured potato crisps, and of course, and very, very importantly, Guinness. And many, 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 many more things. Right, cons. So I've already hit on this a bit, but Ireland is known for its very rainy, wet weather, which is one of the main reasons I left Northern Ireland, especially in the long, dark winter months. But unfortunately, also right through the summer months. This summer, there was a period in the middle of the summer where I think it rained for 14 days. There were breaks in between, but every day for 14 days there was rain. Which can be a real pain in the arse. And because it's quite cold, quite uncomfortable. The public transport outside the cities, especially, not great. There's very high taxes. Ireland has a very high tax burden, especially for high income earners, which doesn't affect me. And of course politics, which is another reason why I left Northern Ireland. Fed up with it. Ireland's known around the world for its turbulent history, its relationship to the United Kingdom. But outside Northern Ireland, nowadays, most people uninterested and carry on their lives unscathed. Northern Ireland, that's another story. Very complicated. Still a very, very, very friendly place. It's got all the qualities that I've mentioned so far about the rest of Ireland, but yet we've had conflict for many, many years over questions which are very, very difficult to resolve fairly. Okay, before we go any further, if you're enjoying the stop. Too early.
Sorry.
Take two. So, if you're enjoying the videos, please give it a thumbs up. Really helps the channel, really helps the algorithm, puts us higher up, more people get to see the videos, more successful channel. That'd be brilliant. And if you want to see more videos,
Sorry about that. Was that better?
yes. And if you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the wee bell because then you'll be reminded of the next videos. Right? Now we're moving on to the final part, fourth and final part of the video, the most important part of the video. This is what this video's really been leading up to and what it's all about. And that is Ireland an expensive place to visit? And this is a really important question to answer properly. I want to entice you to come, visit Ireland and not be put off by the fear that it's too expensive to visit. So yes, Ireland is generally accepted to be quite an expensive place to visit. Said it, not going to say that again. Because the cost of living's high, that's reflected in the cost of accommodation and eating out and that sort of thing, touristy type things. But, and this is a big but, it doesn't need to be expensive. Ireland can be done on a budget quite easily. It's one of those places where a budget traveller can come and have a wonderful time inexpensively, if that's what you're looking for. Starting off with, it's a very, very cheap country to get to, because remember, we invented Ryanair. Ryanair are based here. Cheap flights in, cheap flights out. I had a look the other day at the cost of flights from here to Iceland, and they're unbelievably expensive. It's not very far away. Someone coming from France to here can get here for 50 quid with Ryanair. And by the way, my last video was about Ryanair, whether or not they're a good company, whether they're a rip-off company. And it's well worth the watch. Of course, I would say that, but it is. Right, sorry, I put myself off there. Where was I? Yes, so it doesn't have to be an expensive place to visit. First of all, as I've said, it's stunningly beautiful, where there's so much to see, so much to do, where you don't have to spend a penny or a cent, as the case may be. If you're into walking, hiking, climbing, sightseeing, wildlife, you'll be in heaven coming here. Honestly, it has the most beautiful countryside, the most diverse coastline, anywhere I've ever been. And did you know, we Ireland, we small Ireland, has the longest continuous coast road in the entire world? Hard to believe. It's called the Wild Atlantic Way, and it's 2,600 kilometres in length. And you might think, how is that possible? Because Ireland itself, from top to bottom, is only 480, 490 kilometres. It's because if you think the shape of Ireland, it's all jagged edges the whole way down, and that road meanders the whole way down from Derry right down, meanders round all that jaggedy coastline across the bottom, right across to Cork, and no motorways included. And by the way, there's loads and loads of YouTube videos on the Wild Atlantic Way, so I wasn't going to do one, but then I thought it would be great to do one right in the wildness of the winter. One of my first videos was on the Glens of Antrim, and it was middle of the winter, wind, rain, some hail, and I'm all hopped up with my big coat and all my gear on, and I went to the Giant's Causeway, put my drone up, walked right down, and this was during lockdown, so I was the only person there. And it was magnificent. That was just, I remember, that was the start of me learning that I love walking. I never knew, into my 50s, no idea. Started to do those things right in the middle of the winter. I did a few, did the Cargray rope bridge and all at the winter, and fell in love with walking, and it was through that, so you don't need great weather. And I think the Wild Atlantic Way, the whole way down, middle of the winter, it's going to be fantastic. So I am going to do a winter video. I'm going to call it something like Winter on the Wild Atlantic Way. Also, Ireland has thousands of castles and stately homes, and as many as anywhere I've ever been, a lot of them free. Almost all of what I've talked about in this first part of this number 4 have been free, although I think you'd have to probably pay in the most stately homes. And we've got so many amazing villages and towns and cities that are worth the visit on their own. And you could go on and on and on. There's just so much to do here, so much that you don't have to pay for. Now, other ways to reduce your costs when you're here, and this applies of course to a lot of places. travel during off season, as I've just said, you'll find in most places accommodation and activity prices are much lower than in the high season. Book flights and any accommodation you do have well in advance. Book hostels and B&Bs rather than hotels. And in the better weather, bring a tent, eat locally. Local pubs, local restaurants. Don't eat in any of the tourist trap type places, areas. Like when I was in Paris last week, on the Champs-Élysées, the restaurants, all very expensive, and I happen to know from experience, not very good. Walk a mile away from the touristy areas, fantastic restaurants, much cheaper. Well, that's no different anywhere else. Plan your itinerary nice and early, and look specifically for all the places you can go where you're not going to have to pay. And half the fun, for me anyway, is in the planning. I love doing that. You know, I love that, achieving a sort of, you give yourself a load of things you can do along the way. It's not going to cost you very much money. It's a good sense of satisfaction in that. And the truth is, as I've said in many of my other videos, I've spent most of my life wasting money, throwing money away, not caring very much about money. Ended up with debt and worries that are now all gone because I've cleared all my debt and I don't spend money the way I used to. And I've learned to actually get a buzz out of not spending, travelling cheaply, travelling on a budget. And it really does add a whole new element to your travel, to your holidays, to your adventures. Oh, and by the way, in the description below, I've added a list of a few things to do, quite a lot of things to do for free while visiting Ireland that you might find quite interesting and informative to read. So I'll not list them all now, but read in the description below. Right, okay, so some other wonderful pros about Ireland. It's known as the Emerald Isle because of its lush green countryside. That's a fairly obvious one. It's home to the cliffs of Moher, which are some of the most dramatic and large cliffs in the whole world on the west coast. It's the birthplace of St. Patrick, as if you didn't know, and he is the patron saint of Ireland. It has a rich literary tradition and was home to some of the world's most famous writers, including William Butler, Yeats, James Joyce and Oscar Wilde, all Irishmen. You'll love this one. It's the home of the world's, and still is, oldest pub, what a shocker, and it's Sean's Pub in Athlone, and it's been open since 900 AD, 1300 years. Oh my God. Is that really true? It is, it's really true. Kissing the famous Blarney Stone is said to give you the gift of the gab, and the Irish certainly do have the gift of the gab. Right, so there you go. Sorry about all that earlier stuff. Alright, dead on, thank you. So yeah, there you go. Please come and visit Ireland, it's wonderful. It's got amazing people, it can be done on a budget. It's one of those places that everyone should have on their bucket list to visit at least once in their life. It's like nowhere else in the world. But, and this is a big but, bring a coat. And on that note, I'm going to leave it off there. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I was better. If you want to see more of my videos, subscription, hit the wee bell icon. Love to hear your comments. But until next time, bye for now.